We're going to lighten things up slightly this morning. Geez, I didn't spend too long on social media this morning. All the dolphin lovers had pushed me away. But, geez, if I saw one video clip, and I've got to say, the old scroll addiction. You look at one or all through one video or a minute video on, I don't know, on your Facebook feed or something, and then it says you like that, we're going to throw more of that stuff at you. Well, this weekend, the algorithm got me, and what I got were numerous, and I watched most of them, numerous pictures, numerous videos and social media coming in from the Warbirds over Wanaka air show. Back after, I think, 6 years, and it looked magnificent. And I thought, I've got to find out more about this and how it went this year. And who better to talk to than Ed Taylor, one of those involved in organising this year's Warbirds over Wanaka. He joins us on the phone now. Ed, how are you?
Good morning, Sean. Yeah, mate. I had the first 8 hours sleep that I've had for many weeks, but wow, was it worth it? What an air show, what a celebration, and what a success story for the whole Central Otago region.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you monitor your impact on social media, but I couldn't go anywhere on social media without seeing something from it looked like, first up the weather, it looked like it was a brilliant weekend.
Beautiful sunny days. In the lead up to the air show, we had rain on 3 days, but it was at night, so we were able to do all our setup. But the rain kept the dust down. It couldn't have been more perfect. And Saturday and Sunday were absolutely stunning Central Otago days. Crisp mornings, cool in the morning, and then these beautiful sunny afternoons. And aircraft and visitors from around the world are here in Wanaka in Central Otago putting on, and I know I promote it, and I'm always going to say it's great, but I've had some, whether it's just the 6 years or the fantastic lineup we had, but, I had people from overseas who go to air shows, all the big air shows like Oshkosh, and they just said, Ed, this is, if not one of the best, it's the best air show in the world of its type.
All right. Now, it's this. You haven't had one for 6 years, is it?
Yeah, we were one of the first major events to cancel back in 2020 because of COVID. We were 2 weeks away, so we'd spent a whole lot of money setting that air show up. We did have a contingency fund which allowed us to get through that, and then we thought we'll be right by 2022, but we were caught again right at the end of COVID, so we got slammed. We were down to our last $1,000 before this air show, but through the generosity of our sponsors and supporters and those people who believe in us and all those individuals who sent us $50 to keep our community trust going, we survived. We came back, and we've filled the coffers again, so we're back where we were pre-COVID. Yeah. So thanks to everyone who came along, but everyone had a ball.
For people who don't know the history of this, the late Sir Tim Wallace, of course, a driving force behind it. When did Warbirds over Wanaka start, and what, if you like, is its ethos? What's the idea behind this event?
Well, Tim Wallace, back in 1988, he was a collector of warbird aircraft, and he had, by the end of it, he had a collection called the Alpine Fighter Collection, which was one of the best old World War II fighter collections in the world. But he just loved them. He was passionate about them, and he wanted to show them off. So he thought, why don't we have an air show? So they had long drop toilets back in those days. And in 1988, they had this air show, Warbirds on Parade, and they thought a couple of thousand people would turn up. 14,000 people turned up to that very first air show, and it's never looked back, really, and there's some amazing stories over the year. But Tim, back in about, I think, 2006, because he used to, put on the air show through his company, Alpine Group, but then that was handed over to a community trust, and Tim stayed involved, and, right up until his death late last year. When he'd see me, he'd come over and he'd say, Ed, I've got an idea for the next air show. And he was just, and that grin on his face. And on Saturday, when we did our first tribute to Tim, the Missing Man formation with the beautiful Mosquito and the Spitfire pulling away, and then a 300-metre long wall of fire to recognise Tim. And, there were many people with tears in their eyes, and in the crowd, it was very emotional. It was, when you've got a crowd in each day of 30,000 people, and you and they're all there in awe, and everyone's quiet for the quiet moments, and oh man, it was really
Yeah,
special.
it certainly was, because this will be the first Warbirds without Tim.
Well, isn't it great when your legacy can go on? And but the thing is, the ethos for us is about education, entertainment, and the economic benefits for this region. Which back in 2018 it was $42 million. This time round, I'm picking it'll be $50 million when we get our economic impact report.
To force a local supermarket to open in defiance of the law.
They've been doing that ever since I've been here 20 years. Those supermarkets have been open, and the Paper Plus and everyone else. That's a silly law anyway. But anyway.
Yep. All right, look, Ed, I looked at it, as I said, I saw a fair bit of it on the YouTube and the Facebook. You say it now. That's another thing I was thinking. 30,000, if you like, paying customers at the airfield. But, I mean, people must have been walking around with crink necks all weekend, just looking up into the sky, wherever you were in Wanaka.
Well, I saw a video of the F-16, and I swore it had been shot at the airfield, and it hadn't, and it was some random down in town. So everyone was getting a free air show that weren't out here, and we do a community event on the Friday afternoon when 8,000 people ring around the beautiful foreshore in Wanaka, and that's a free community event to give back to our local families, and they just come down there. There's kids splashing in the lake. It was bloody cold.
Was that the one where the Hercules dropped all the flares?
Beautiful, mate.
I saw that.
Saying goodbye to the mighty Herc. It was just, the whole weekend was absolutely stunning. I just can't, after 6 years, we managed to survive. We've got a whole new crew running it. Fantastic job. All our volunteers, 300 volunteers every day. Magnificent.
Now, tell us about the F-16s, because they were a highlight. How did they get down here? Where were they from? And how did you jack that up?
They're aeroplanes, and they flew down, but they had a tanker in support, and so they had a KC-135 tanker aircraft which refueled them on the way down. The aircraft themselves were based in South Korea. The demonstration team pilots are based in Japan. This time the availability of the aircraft was in South Korea, so they came down, and the pilots obviously went there, picked them up, and they flew down with the tanker, and how did we jack that up? We're already talking to the Americans about what we're going to do in 2026. So we've just got really great relationships with the US Air Force, with the Royal Australian Air Force, and obviously that's helped by our relationship with the Royal New Zealand Air Force.
They didn't fly in and land there. In Wanaka, they flew out of Christchurch and came across?
Yeah, they were in Christchurch, and I think it was 7 minutes down here, so it's not long. That they can scoot those boys. But I'll tell you something interesting about the F-16s. I was talking to their ground crew. They had a crew here on the ground in Wanaka, and also Ethan, their top demo pilot, came down on Sunday night for our thank you dinner. And but they were saying that when they see their team demonstrating at big air shows in the United States, you can hardly see the plane. It's so far away. They're on big military bases, these air shows. Here in Wanaka, you're right there. And they said they've never seen, this is their first trip down here, and they said they've never seen their aircraft demonstrated so close and so fantastic. They were just blown away themselves.